right. So we are going to be diving in today to how your inner child controls your love life or might be controlling your love life. And you can figure out if that's the case for you or not from what we're going to be talking about. So please say hi as you're jumping on, or if you are catching the replay, so I can know if you were here and you saw this. So this live is going to be the first in a series I'll be doing on the fundamental things that we need in order to date and choose well so we can attract and keep healthy dream relationships. So today is day one, and we're going to be talking about the inner child. Hi everyone who's hopping on. So your inner child is so fundamental and key to your relationship success that in my high value woman mastermind, this is the first thing that we address. And we spend a lot of time getting to know and healing our inner children. And we're going to talk about why that is today. Yes, the live will be saved, so you can come back and catch the replay. So the goal today is that you walk away better understanding what is your inner child, because we see this term thrown around a lot, right? Like, why does your inner child matter to the ongoing patterns you might be experiencing in dating and in your relationships and your love life? So we're going to talk about that. You're welcome. So what is the inner child? Let's start there. So your inner child is the child version of you, the version of you that went through and experienced your childhood. So we all have inner children. In fact, we actually have more than one because we went through different ages, right? So you've got inner children from each stage or age in your childhood. I love how the author, Sandra Cisternos, describes this in her short story 11, which is about a girl who is having her 11th birthday. And I'm just going to read from that because I think it just really grounds it in this beautiful way. So she says, what we don't understand about birthdays and what they never tell you is that when you're 11, you're also 10 and 9 and 8 and 7 and 6 and 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. And when you wake up on your 11th birthday, you expect to feel 11, but you don't. You open your eyes and everything's just like yesterday, only it's today. And you don't feel 11 at all. You feel like you're still 10, and you are underneath the year that makes you 11. Some days you might say something stupid, and that's the part of you that's still 10. Or maybe some days you might need to sit on your mama's lap because you're scared, and that's the part of you that's 5. And maybe one day when you're all grown up, maybe you will need to cry like you're 3, and that's okay. That's what I tell mama when she's sad and needs to cry. Maybe she's feeling 3. Because the way you grow old is kind of like an onion, or like the rings inside a tree trunk, or like the little wooden dolls that fit one inside the other, each year inside the next one. That's how being 11 years old is. And I think this is just a beautiful way to describe how we all have these younger versions of us inside of us. Despite how old we are, they're still all there. We all have a 2-year-old, we all have a 5-year-old, we have a 7-year-old, and so on inside of us. Now, not everyone has wounded inner children or a lot of wounded inner children. If you developed in a relatively safe home and developed a secure attachment with your parents and didn't experience anything that was very traumatic, you might not have many inner children who carry wounds. But for many of us, I might even say most of us, myself included, we did experience things at different ages that were harmful to our development into securely attached adults with healthy self-worth and healthy relational skills. So you, for example, you could have grown up in a home where you experienced emotional neglect or even abuse or emotional or physical abandonment. You lost a parent or had experiences, whatever they were, that left a mark on you. You had experiences where you didn't feel safe and connected to a parent or a caregiver, or maybe you have sibling-related trauma or even school-related trauma. So what you do as a child when you don't feel that safety and connection and that love is just a given, where you don't feel like you could just be yourself with the people in your life who you needed that love and connection from, which would have been your parents and primary caregivers primarily. Well, our parents are the ones who we depended on to survive as children, right? So as a child, you're built to survive. We are adaptable. We adjust to our environments so we can survive. So you will try to become whatever we need to be to get love and connection and approval and acceptance from our environment, specifically from our parents. So we learn what we need to be in order to survive and get our basic needs for love and connection met. So for many of us, that required that we betray ourselves, that we neglect and self-abandon ourselves in order to get that love. We became externally focused on the people outside of us who we needed to get that love and safety and connection from. And we disconnected from our needs, from who we were, from our boundaries in order to please others. So what happens when this child becomes an adult who learn to do all of these things in order to stay safe or to get some kind of love or connection? Well, we grow up into adults who don't know how to have a healthy relationship. We don't have the skills around communicating our needs, maybe even knowing what our needs are. We don't know how to set boundaries. Maybe we don't even know what our boundaries are. We don't know how not to self-abandon for others. We don't know how to have a healthy relationship with our emotions, with our feelings. We might have been told that our feelings, our emotions were too much, or got the message that they weren't important or were a nuisance. Maybe we're told to stop crying, stop making such a big deal about things. And so we don't know how to process or self-regulate our emotions. Maybe we even disconnected from them and don't feel a whole lot as adults. We don't know how to name it or describe it or what's going on inside of us. We don't know how to express what we're feeling. Maybe we don't know what we're feeling. And therefore, we don't know what we need. So we're kind of just floating in life, trying to navigate through external things and other people's validation because we don't have that connection to ourselves. So as adults, we don't have skills to have healthy relationships. So what happens? We end up in unfulfilling, not right, unavailable, or even abusive relationships. And we repeat the same cycles again and again with different people. We may even be afraid of love deep down because our experience of intimate relationships as a child was not good, and we don't want to repeat that. So we have this inner child who deeply, deeply wants love and connection and acceptance, but she's so focused outside of herself, trying to get that because adult you is disconnected from yourself and your inner children. So your inner children experience abandonment daily from you. They don't feel safe. They don't feel heard or seen or important, which means they're starving for that. So your inner child or inner children, they're abandoned. And your adult self doesn't know how to have or navigate healthy relationships because you never had that modeled or taught and didn't learn it when you should have. So I'm going to give you an example of how this kind of can function or where this can come from. That's pretty common with a lot of very high achieving, high performing women that I work with. So you're 5. And you want attention. That's what 5-year-olds want, right? You want to be noticed and you really, really love your daddy, but daddy isn't around a lot. He's working a lot maybe, or he's separated from your mom maybe. And when he is around, your daddy doesn't really seem to notice you. He doesn't seem to give you a lot of real attention. He seems to be occupied with something else a lot of the time, reading the newspaper or watching TV or working at whatever he's doing and just kind of disengaged from you. So 5-year-old you does something to try to get his attention because what we want is attention. Maybe you make a piece of art or you do something silly or you interrupt him or you bring something to him. and it doesn't work. And when over time that doesn't work consistently, then you start acting out, because now that's what you're left with to try to get that need met. So what does little you need? What would she have needed? Well, she needed his attention. She needed his focus. She needed his validation. She needed him to see her and appreciate her for who she is. She needed him to connect with her and validate her, to be interested in her and ask her questions. But dad doesn't do that. Instead, he gets annoyed at your interruptions. He gets angry when you get upset, and you get punished, you get sent to your room, and now you've got even less connection. At 5 years old, you don't have the skills to verbalize and ask for what you need from dad. And when this repeats enough times, it gets internalized to something like, there's something wrong with me. There's something not good enough about me. Otherwise, he would have noticed me. He would have given me attention. This happened to me in a different way, in that my father actually died when I was 5 and he was sick for a while. And I internalized that whole situation as something about me. Oh, I'm not enough. That's why that happened. That's why he died. Doesn't make sense, but remember, our inner child comes to interpretations of things that happen in ways that aren't actually logical when we look at it as adults, right? But nonetheless, the way that we're interpreting things impacts our subconscious belief systems around love and ourselves and our worth, what I call our love blueprints. Now, let's imagine an alternate reality where the little 5-year-old you has a healthy, available, and attuned parent who spends plenty of time interacting with her. Dad gives her love, he gives her attention and connection and validation. He shows her that he is thrilled with her, he is interested in her, he's emotionally attuned to her and her needs more of the time. That little girl would take away a very different message. She would take away a positive message about herself and her power to get her needs met in relationships. Now, for many of us, that is not what happened to some extent, to some degree, with one or the other of our parents. And so if you are the little 5-year-old girl who did get her needs met and had this need for attention, and he did give her attention and meet those needs, what does that teach her about herself? Well, she learns not only do my needs matter and that my needs are okay, but that I matter and I am important, by extension of my needs being met, because this is how children kind of interpret what happens. And she also learns about relationships. I am able to get what I need from relationships. I'm able to express myself and have that heard and be positively responded to. I have the power to impact my world and my experience. Other people are dependable and can be relied on to meet my needs. If this repeats consistently in your experience of relationships through your parents, that you can have a need and have that need met, then you develop into an adult who has better functioning relationship skills, better communication skills, and a positive belief in yourself that you can have power over your experiences with others. But for the child who didn't experience this, whose dad didn't meet her needs consistently, that child never develops key relationship skills. Skills around communication and needs, around boundaries. She doesn't develop a healthy self-worth, most likely, and doesn't experience that she can be who she is and have that be enough. That child likely eventually does figure out the best way to get that need for attention met, but it won't be in a healthy way. So maybe she only gets dad's attention or positive validation when she achieves in school and gets straight A's. So she becomes driven in school because that's where she thinks she's going to get that love and that sense of worth as a person. That's where it starts to be drawn from, what she does or achieves. And she develops an identity around being very driven and successful. Maybe she only gets dad's attention when she is quiet and doesn't take up space and is a good girl and people pleases and takes care of everyone else's needs. And so that's who she becomes as an adult to get her needs met, or trying to get her needs met. Maybe she becomes hyper independent because she feels that she simply cannot rely on others to meet her needs, and she has to do it all herself. So what happens is that you will develop maladaptive strategies to try to get needs met instead of healthy ways of getting needs met. So you will have a sense of self-worth that is externally dependent on what you do or how other people see you instead of on who you intrinsically are. You won't have the skills to positively impact your environment and relationships and get what you need from others without self-abandoning or pretzeling yourself into what someone else wants. So adult you with a lot of unhealthy strategies to get needs met, that's kind of who we become as adults. And then you've still got inner child you or inner children you who carry all of these past experiences of missed connection, rejection, abandonment, and not being seen, which is so, so painful. And so this leads these inner children or that inner child to seek unhealthy places to get self-worth, and who continues to experience the same patterns in adulthood due to adult you not having healthier strategies for relationships, and then therefore reinforcing her negative self-beliefs, meaning that she is still re-experiencing the same trauma again and again in her adult life. So when you're an adult and you're disconnected from your inner child and her needs, you're not meeting them, your inner child doesn't just disappear. I know some of you wish that she would. So what happens in adulthood with this inner child? Well, she acts out and she gets louder and louder until you hear her, because the inner child cannot be gotten rid of. She's a part of you. You can't erase your past. And she's carrying whole systems of beliefs about you, about relationships, the way she interprets your present and emotions and the emotional reactions she's going to go to, and her learned patterns of behavior. So adult you isn't the only part of you showing up to dates and relating to men, if you're a woman, on dates or in relationship. You are taking with you all your inner children, and they are determining how you show up and relate to others. So whenever you are behaving in ways that are harmful to her or the opposite of her needs, whenever she feels unsafe or scared, she reacts and she leans on old behavior patterns that are often self-sabotaging or at least not very effective. So you have got to get to know your inner children. You have to actually be with that part of yourself. Learn, what did she need? How does she think? What beliefs does she carry? What is her learned pattern of behavior? What's her automatic way of reacting to unmet needs? And start to learn some healthier ones. So understanding our inner child self is the first step to changing our negative relationship and dating patterns, because they aren't coming directly from our adult selves. When we get to know our inner children and help them heal, we also then kind of side by side want to be helping our adult selves learn new ways that we didn't learn before, healthier ways of relating, of getting needs met, of identifying and expressing needs, of meeting our own needs, being there for ourselves, of processing and regulating our emotions, of identifying and setting boundaries, of knowing ourselves and having healthy self-worth. When we lack those skills, we continue to re-traumatize our inner children and repeat the same unhappy patterns in every relationship. Our inner children then, of course, lack trust in us, and we lack trust in ourselves. And it's for good reason, because we haven't been there for ourselves. We don't trust ourselves because we don't have a relationship with ourselves. And also, we don't know how to take care of ourselves. And when our inner children don't trust us, they take things into their own hands. And this is important to get to. They will take things into their own hands when they don't trust us, which is exhausting for them and also not what they are developmentally capable of doing well. So a lot of us have such messy love lives because we have 2-year-olds and 4-year-olds and 6-year-olds running our love lives, making our decisions for us, because our adult self, our adult us, lacks the skills and awareness to do any differently. And those inner children, therefore, don't trust us. So when our adult selves are basically offline, our inner children have to take over. When our adult selves don't know how to create connection and safety for our inner children, they will seek outside of us for safety and security and love and connection. They will drive us into the arms of men who are wrong for us or actually unavailable. They will drive us to just accept anything that we can get, except breadcrumbs. This is why we stay in relationships that are wrong for us for so long, even toxic relationships. It's why we keep chasing and waiting on the unavailable person. This is all being driven at a subconscious level by our unhealed, unprotected, uncared for inner children. So again, you're not going to be consciously aware of what's driving this stuff, right? But when we dig in together in coaching, where I take you into your subconscious and we connect with these younger versions of you, we can discover the real roots behind these negative patterns. Because you can say, I know that this isn't good for me. I know intellectually I'm worthy of more. I know I should trust or I should be emotionally available and vulnerable, but I can't seem to do that. I can't seem to let this guy go. I can't seem to just be myself. I can't seem to stop wanting this same kind of guy. I keep ending up in the same kind of situations. Well, your inner child is trying to get her needs met, and she's got a lot of patterns of behavior that are working against you. And when you aren't the one guiding how this happens, she's going to go after what feels familiar and fits her worldview, which isn't usually a very accurate or true worldview, belief system, but it matches her subconscious beliefs about herself, her worthiness, and about love. So adult you lacks the skills and the practice of doing things that will make little you safe, identifying healthy partners, identifying needs and getting them met, communicating in healthy and productive ways, setting boundaries, meeting your own needs, validating yourself, being there for yourself. So she thinks, well, you can't do it for me, so I'm going to go find it outside of you. And the thing is, and I talk about this often, where is she going to go to try to get her needs met? Well, usually it's a person who feels the way our unavailable parent felt, or the parent that we had the most challenge with felt, because that's her normal. She knows what to do with that. That pattern is familiar. And our inner children like familiar. They seek healing in what feels familiar. They don't have the ability to make better decisions or even understand why they're making the decisions that they are making. It's not rational. It's not coming from your conscious decision making. So the part of you that is attracted to a certain type of situation or guy or behaves in self-sabotaging ways again and again, the part of you that doesn't want to stop chasing and working for that unavailable guy or leave the wrong relationship, right? That's your inner child. She's identified her needs getting met and her worth and her sense of security as coming from that person. And it feels comfortable to her because it's familiar. It's familiar for her to, for example, self-abandon. It's familiar for her to, for example, long for love and not get it. It's familiar for her to not have her vital needs met. It's familiar for her to feel like she's not enough, to need to change herself in order to get love. And so she'll stay in these less than fulfilling situations and she'll be attracted to them actually. And, the thought will be, well, if I just try harder, if I just fix myself, then everything will be better and I'll finally get the love that I want. And this is a fantasy that she's going to go to. And it's just like her thinking in childhood, if I could just become this kind of student, get these kinds of grades, then dad's going to love me. He's going to see me. If I can just get straight A's, then dad's going to be proud of me and I'll get that validation. If I can just be what my parent wants me to be, then I'll finally get the love that I want. And my parent is going to finally love me the way I need them to. It wasn't very successful though, right? So does this sound familiar to you? So, we do the same thing in our adult relationships. So I hope you're able to see why getting to know and to understand and healing your inner child is so vital for your future relationships. The good news is we have something called neuroplasticity, so we can rewire our software. We can heal. We can change these patterns. through becoming the parent for our inner child that they didn't have and giving them the things they needed but didn't get in the past, and learning skills, relational skills, discernment skills that we didn't develop. So your relationship to your inner child and helping her heal is the first step in changing your relationship patterns. Without this, nothing else you do is really going to stick. You'll end up reverting back to old ways of being because at a subconscious level, nothing has changed in your software. So you can try loading a new app onto your phone, but if your software needs an update, that game's not going to work, right? So it's like trying to learn secondary skills before you have the right software to run them. A lot of women, when they're trying to figure out what's behind their dating and relationship struggles, discover femininity work, which is really important and vital. And it is something that I teach because we need it. But if you lay that on top of your inner child's old software, you're most likely going to misapply it. I did this, by the way, before I had done my proper healing. You'll actually use femininity like a performance, another way that you have to earn love, another way that you don't feel good enough and need to change yourself in order to be good enough. It becomes just another performance and not an actual real femininity that's in you. You can learn communication skills, but if you haven't actually addressed the root belief systems that determine how you behave and how you show up and how you see the world, it's not going to be much help because you've got a hurting inner child with, for example, the one that many of us have, an abandonment wound. Your inner child is going to be terrified to speak up, to say no, to express needs, to be vulnerable, because she's afraid that if she does, it will push other people away. And she is far more afraid to lose a relationship than she is to lose herself. The survival fears are going to override any new information or skills that are learned because we are, first and foremost designed to survive. And until you take your inner child out of survival and make her feel safe and secure, she's not going to be willing to do anything differently. Because the potential of losing someone is far scarier for her. The emotional pain and the abandonment fear that would get triggered is something that she's not going to be able to move through because the unhealed abandonment wound getting triggered would be too intense unless healed first and a safe relationship with herself developed first. So your survival brain is going to make the decisions for you, not your rational adult self. Your subconscious beliefs and fears are going to run you, not your rational adult self. Your learned patterns of behavior are going to be your automatic go-to when triggered. You're not going to have on automatic something that you're going to go to. Maybe you don't even know it's possible. What are mature adult reactions, responses, and behaviors? So this is why we need to heal the inner child first before we do anything else. So I hope this gives you an understanding of what your inner child or inner children are and how she works and why it's so important to start with her. Because if we don't start with her, we're going to continue to repeat our relationship patterns that don't serve us. We're going to continue to self-abandon, to chase or work to try to earn love or worth or worthiness. We're going to continue to hide who we are, to not speak up, to be drawn to unhealthy situations, accepting less than we should, and acting out in ways that sabotage our relationships or budding relationships because we lack the skills, we lack the integration, we lack the relationship and understanding of ourselves. We don't know how to be there for these child parts of ourselves. We don't know how to have them not be the ones who are in charge of our love lives. We don't know how to create safety and security and connection within ourselves as adults. And so we chase love, we accept less, we try to earn worthiness, we try to perform and pretend, and we self-abandon, and we act out in negative ways that are trying to self-protect us. And we are kind of lost and not really able to know what's right for us or trust ourselves because we are so disconnected from ourselves and these parts of ourselves. So in my work, we get to know all the younger parts of you. We are there for them in the ways that they needed us to be for our entire lives. And we help them heal. We help them let go of their unhelpful beliefs and patterns and behaviors. And we help them learn new beliefs. We help them reintegrate with our adult selves and experience safety and security. And we help them trust our adult selves. So our adult selves can be the ones in charge and not our younger selves, so that our younger selves can stop being the ones that are running our lives. And they don't have to keep looking externally to other people for validation or safety or anything that they've been kind of codependent on, and can learn a new way of being and operating in this world in your own skin with a new level of safety and security and worthiness and confidence. So that is a large part of the work that we do inside the High Value Woman, where we're actually going to get in there with your inner children. I'm going to help guide you through to find them, connect with them, understand them, and heal them. So in the first two modules, we dive really deep into this work. We go into how to identify your wounded younger parts, how to understand your negative relationship patterns and where they come from, how to emotionally regulate and process emotions, how to navigate triggers so they don't control you. We actually have lots of really valuable information that we can take from triggers and actually use them for our growth. How to be there for yourself and your inner child in a way that you've never been before. Your inner child are starving for you. How to heal your inner children, how to heal those core wounds and negative core beliefs, how to end those negative patterns of self-sabotaging behavior like self-abandonment, like codependency, like people-pleasing, and reactivity. How to change negative belief systems, the ones we have about ourselves, about love, about men. How to stop early attaching so you don't miss red flags, overlook things, and get devastated every time something doesn't work out. And how to make better decisions in the people you choose by rewiring how you are choosing people. How to date from a secure place instead of chasing, leaning forward, seeking validation or worthiness. How to heal so you can let down your walls and your self-protections and defenses that keep love out and let people see the real you. How to feel safe and be yourself authentically in relationship with others, how to identify needs and set boundaries, how to handle rejection, being there for your inner child, helping her not take it personally, helping her handle it with so much grace instead of it triggering all your survival instincts and wounds and taking you out for, a week plus. So your inner child, I guarantee you, she is alone, so alone right now. And this is a process of healing and peeling back the layers that we have built up over the years, many, many years, so that you can be freed from living from a place of survival, freed from living in a place of not listening to yourself and abandoning yourself and not trusting yourself, freed from desperation and major anxiety and fears that are controlling you, freed from people pleasing and being afraid to be seen. So we teach our inner children that they can be safe now, and they will not die if they are rejected, if abandoned, if not chosen, that you're an adult now, and you will learn the adult relational skills that you might be lacking because adult, you didn't get a chance to learn them. And we don't learn this stuff in schools. And a lot of us had no modeling for that in our families. So learning how you can be there for yourself when triggered, when anxiety comes up, when fears come up, learning how to lean on yourself, trust God, and get your worthiness from God instead of other people. And having a life that is going to nourish you and support you and fulfill you so you aren't so dependent on one person and are truly resilient in the face of what happens while dating. Because in dating, you are going to experience rejection. You are going to experience not being chosen. You are going to experience disappointment, and having the skills to navigate that so it doesn't throw everything off for months, maybe even years, and you can bounce back much quicker. So if you decide to join and apply for the mastermind, and I really hope that you do and that I see you inside, because what we do in this mastermind is so incredible. It is life-changing. It is not like a therapy where we just kind of sit and talk. It's practical. It's transformational. We're really getting in there to the root of things and changing things at the root. It's everything that no one ever taught you, that you will wish you'd known sooner, and now is better than later. or never, and later is always better than never. So join us. You can change your patterns. You can change the trajectory of the rest of your life in all your relationships, not just romantic. And you can have a wonderful, fulfilling, healthy romantic relationship. So the mastermind is starting in about a week. There are only limited spots available because it is a very small, intimate mastermind where I really work deeply with each of you. Now is the time to apply. So when you apply, I get your application. If it's a fit, then we are going to set up a quick consultation call to make sure that it's the right fit. So I can meet you and you can meet me. And then if you decide to join, you would have access to the pre-modules that you would be able to see before we even start. There's never any pressure. I want to make sure that everybody who joins is fully ready and fully on board. So in the mastermind, we have 15 calls total. These are calls 3 weeks out of the month for 5 months. So you get lots and lots and lots of support and time to really integrate. Go out and practice and integrate and come back and get support. It's a very small, intimate group of women who are going to be on the same journey as you. It's amazing to just see how not alone you are and to have that sisterhood and love and support. These calls are 2 hours long. They are recorded if you can't make one. And they run so that everybody gets a chance to get coached on every call for a good 16, 20 minutes. So I get to know you really well. And we work through your specific things on each call. In addition to that, you get access to 8 modules online that are a pre-recorded curriculum, which you can watch and take part in and do in your own time. So they take you through an entire journey from start to finish of everything that you need to be set up for that healthy, amazing relationship. So you walk away with everything you need, not only to find an amazing relationship, how to date to do that, but to have a relationship that is going to last and be really good and healthy for the long run. So in those modules, we cover first emotional regulation and handling triggers. So you get that right away, hit the ground running, you get support with that. So what do you do when you're triggered, when your emotions are high and you're hijacked by those survival fears and instincts, so you don't self-sabotage and react poorly, push people away, whatever your old patterns were. You get my 5-step process that I give clients. This alone is life-changing. My clients tell me when they learn this process, and it gives them so much power and peace and grace in the face of what happens. Then we dive deeply, deeply, deeply into your inner child and healing core wounds. So you get several guided meditations to help you heal your inner child, find her and heal her. You get meditations with new beliefs and adjustments to the things that your inner child probably carries that are not true. You get guided through work on identifying your relationship patterns and where they come from specifically, so you know what the work is. A lot of us don't even realize what our patterns are and don't even have the awareness. And so this helps you really, really actually gain awareness of this. We look at it very deeply. Then you rewrite your love blueprint at a subconscious level. So our goal here is that you are going to update your software for love and relationships. And I remember very, very clearly the first time that I was guided to connect to my wounded inner child and how much emotion it brought up in me to realize that she was inside me, because I didn't even know she was there. But sometimes I'd have these bursts of sadness or grief that would just come through, and it always confused me. It seemed really strong, and I'd be like, what is this? So I discovered it was her, and she was holding so much pain and grief from my childhood that I had never even seen. None was there. I thought I had an amazing childhood, which I did, and still I had this wounded inner child. And so I was finally able to begin to acknowledge her and witness her and hold her through that so she could really heal. And that is what she had been needing since I was 5 years old and had never gotten it. I would fall for and pine after unavailable men. That was my key pattern. The other one was hiding and running. And, I'd also be very guarded, and I wouldn't feel like I could let people in and see the real me, because I truly felt there was something wrong with me. And if they see that in me, they would not like me anymore. And my inner child carried so much shame. So this led me to be so starved for love and connection and being seen. I wanted to be seen and chosen and to feel good enough. And I would try to get that from people outside me. people who I even knew were not right for me, but they were just giving me all of that. And then pining after the unavailable love. So I didn't even know that I could change that within myself, that I could give those things to myself. And so I learned how to do that. And I'm going to teach you how to do that. So, the question is for you is like, do you even know what's going on deep inside of you? Do you have a connection to your emotions? Do you notice how you're feeling, or do you just kind of operate on autopilot and push away those scary, vulnerable parts of yourself, push them down? Are you more focused on other people or external things like achievement or success that you don't even know yourself or what's going on inside? Getting to know your inner children is the most impactful and effective way that I have ever seen of truly developing a relationship with yourself, seeing yourself, validating yourself, being there for yourself, and from that place, being able to choose and create much healthier, better aligned relationships. There is a whole section on self-love and self-confidence, handling things like rejection so it doesn't feel so personal anymore and doesn't take you out for weeks at a time and make you question everything about yourself. Communication skills. So you've got your inner child taken care of. Now we can start to build on that with skills that your adult self needs. So how do you identify needs and boundaries and express them? How do you handle conflict in a healthy, research-proven way? A lot of us never learned how to do that. Feminine, heart-centered communication skills. Then we get into dating. And these are dating skills, things that, again, you never learned. No one ever taught you. We dive into the feminine and masculine poles in relationship and dating, what that looks like, how to navigate dating effectively, how to handle different stages and common scenarios that come up, identifying your relationship and partner must-haves and non-negotiables. This is so important. If you don't know this, dating can be very confusing, and you kind of will just end up with anyone. So getting clarity around all of that. You will have a clear-cut, completely makes sense approach to dating as a woman. There is a whole section on online dating. So how to set up your profile to attract the kind of man that you want to meet, the apps to use, the prompts to use, examples of what to write, photos to use, look how to identify red flags in communication and in the profiles, and where you can meet men outside of the dating apps. I'm telling you, the dating apps work. Many, many, many of my clients meet their future husbands through online dating, but most of us don't know how to use them successfully to attract the kind of men they want to attract. And so I teach you how to do that. And I actually personally help you edit your profile. We get into the feminine energy section, which is trainings on what it is and how to embody your femininity authentically, not as a performance or something else that you have to become that you aren't. And this, really embodying this and understanding what it means to be a woman is the key to having a beautiful relationship with a man that honors your nature as a woman. So we get into all of that. And then lastly, understanding men. We need to know this too. So this module covers how men are different from women, the key ways that they are, what men need from us that we don't necessarily think about because we're women and we don't necessarily have the same needs, how they think about and approach dating so you can identify commitment-ready quality men, how to know if a man is serious about you or not, what are all the signs. So that's everything. It's really a robust curriculum. It is my life's work. And this is all about giving you the practical tools and skills and information that you need to actually create transformation in your life. So you're going to get homework and things to implement from each module. This is not just more information. It's meant to be active and transformational. So there are hours and hours of training in there that build on each other, and they are what has moved the needle for my one-on-one clients. And we are now in our 6th round of the mastermind. So it's been tested and new content is always being added, and I give it all to you. So I would love to see you inside the mastermind so we can truly make these changes for you. Like I said, we start in about a week. Applications are open. If you're interested, send me a DM and ask for the link, or you can also find the link in my bio. And if you're watching this on YouTube, that will be below in the description box. And so you can get the information about it. So the goal of this program is that you can walk away truly feeling secure in yourself, feeling secure in your worthiness, having the skills and the knowledge and understanding of what you've been doing wrong and what to do differently. Putting your adult in the driver's seat instead of your inner child in the driver's seat, and really having a full transformation from the inside out, a whole nother way of being in the world, of approaching dating and relationships. So thank you for being here. And if you watched to the end, thank you for being here and watching to the end. I will post the replay. It takes a lot of bravery and humbleness to actually say, hey, what I'm doing is not working. I think I need some help. I think I'm going to not keep trying to figure this out on my own. And so I really honor you for, saying, yeah, I do need some help. I do need to get an outside perspective. Maybe what I have been doing isn't working and maybe I don't know everything.